In a browser, I've opened transition_demo.html, which you can find in the Using CSS Transforms and Transitions folder of the course assets. Both images in this page have been rotated using the CSS Transform property. The Transform property is also used to scale up the images and rotate them back to the normal position when you mouse over them. But if I mouse over the image on the left, the change is immediate. It's jarring. But mousing over the image on the right provides a smooth transition. And that's because I'm using the CSS Transition property. So let's go into Dreamweaver to have a look at the style rules that control this. I'll just select the second image, and you can see in the property inspector that it has the ID smooth, and the style rules are embedded in the head of the page. So here is a style rule for smooth with the hover pseudo class, and the same properties apply to any image on hover, and it's the transform property, rotate back to 0 degrees and scale up to 1.5 of the original size. What might come as a surprise is that the transition property isn't here in the hover pseudo class, it's up here in the style rule that affects the smooth element in its normal state. That's because the recommended practice is to use the transition property in the normal state so that it applies to any transition regardless of which pseudo class is used to control it. At the time of recording this lesson, Dreamweaver inserts vendor-specific prefixes for all browsers using the transition property and also for the transform property. WebKit is for WebKit browsers like Safari, iOS and Android. Moz is for Firefox, MS for Microsoft Internet Explorer, O for Opera. That's no longer really necessary because Opera has moved to using WebKit, and then the standard property at the end. Browser support is improving rapidly, so this is likely to change. In the version of Dreamweaver CC that you're using, you might not see all of these vendor-specific properties, or it might be controlled by an option in the Preferences panel. Let's just look at what the values are. This first value here, all, applies the transition to all properties. The 1s makes it a duration of 1 second, and this ease in out tells the browser to start off slow, speed up, and then slow down again at the end. Even without vendor-specific prefixes, getting the syntax right is a lot of work, so Dreamweaver CC has a dedicated CSS Transitions panel that does it all for you. And in a separate lesson, I'll show you how to use it. But let's just go back to our browser. You might have noticed that when I mouse over this image on the left, it always ends up behind the other image. So, in another lesson, I'll show you how to prevent that using relative positioning and the z-index property. I'll also show you how to control the point from which an element is transformed. If I mouse over this image, you can see that it's scaling and rotating from the center. You can control that using the transform origin property.